the mysterious birth of Naya. The village of Zandari lay nestled between rolling green hills and the vast, endless savanna. It was a place where the sun bathed the land in golden light, where the rivers whispered secrets to those who listened, and where the spirits of the ancestors still walked among the living. One fateful night, as the wind howled through the great baobab trees, an old woman named Momakesa was making her way home after gathering herbs from the forest. She had lived in Zandari for decades, known to all as the village's most skilled midwife and healer. But that night, something unusual caught her eye, a bundle wrapped in golden cloth, lying at the foot of the village's sacred tree. Her heart pounded as she approached. She could hear faint, soft cries rising from within the bundle. When she peeled back the fabric, she gasped. It was a baby girl. Her skin was as smooth as river stones, her hair dark as the midnight sky, and her eyes, they glowed with an eerie luminescence, a golden hue that flickered like firelight. Momakesa had never seen anything like it. A child abandoned beneath the sacred tree was a sign, whether of good fortune or impending disaster, she did not know. As dawn broke over Zandari, the villagers gathered around the sacred tree, murmuring in hushed voices. Chief Bobu Omoni, the wise and just leader of the village, stood tall, his grey beard swaying in the wind. This child, he declared, is no ordinary girl. She has been left here for a reason. The gods have sent her to us. The people nodded, though not all were convinced. Elder Wanda, the village priest, furrowed his brows, his wrinkled face set in deep concern. The spirits whisper, he muttered. Something about this child is not of this world. But no one dared speak against the chief's decision. Momakesa, unable to bear the thought of leaving the infant alone, took the girl into her home and named her Naya, meaning the one who brings wonder in their ancient tongue. The beauty that stunned the village. As Naya grew, it became clear that she was no ordinary child. She was breathtakingly beautiful, unlike anyone the villagers had ever seen. Her skin shimmered under the sun, her eyes gleamed like molten gold, and when she laughed, the sound was like the tinkling of wind chimes. Men of all ages found themselves captivated by her presence, while women watched her with both admiration and unease. Some whispered that she was blessed, while others muttered that she was cursed. She is too perfect, some old women would say, shaking their heads. No mortal girl should be so enchanting. But despite their whispers, Naya was kind-hearted and gentle, helping Momakesa with her healing work and caring for the village's children. Still, a shadow loomed over her life, one that she could not ignore. The whispering voices. From the time she was a child, Naya had strange dreams. They began as soft whispers in the night, voices calling her name in an unfamiliar language. As she got older, the dreams became more vivid. She saw places she had never been, people she had never met, and a vast, endless darkness that seemed to pull at her soul. At first, she dismissed them as figments of her imagination. But soon, the voices followed her even in waking hours. Late at night, as she lay on her mat in Momakesa's hut, a voice would murmur, "Seek what is missing. Find what you desire. You are not complete." At first, Naya tried to ignore the whispers, but they only grew stronger. One night, she woke suddenly, drenched in sweat, feeling as if something had just touched her face. Her heart pounded. She was no longer sure if the voices were dreams or something else entirely. Something unseen was calling her. Something she did not understand. And deep within her, a longing began to grow, one that no one in the village could satisfy. The village begins to fear. It was Momakesa who noticed the changes in Naya first. She no longer smiled as brightly. Her golden eyes seemed darker, troubled by something she refused to speak about. She would wake up tired, her skin clammy, as though she had spent the night fighting an unseen battle. One day, a young warrior named Baroza, the strongest and most admired man in the village, came to see Naya. Naya, he said, his voice thick with admiration, I have traveled far and wide, but never have I seen a woman like you. Let me be the one to cherish you. Naya stared at him. For the first time, she felt nothing. She could see that Baraza was strong, wise, and honorable. Any woman would have been lucky to have him. But something inside her felt empty, unsatisfied, incomplete. I am sorry, Baraza, she whispered. I cannot give you what you seek. Baraza left with disappointment, but he was only the first. One by one, the men of the village sought her hand, but none could stir her heart. None could fulfill the yearning that clawed at her soul. And soon, the villagers began to whisper again. She is unnatural, they murmured. No woman should refuse every man. Some said she was cursed. Others said she was not of this world. Even Chief Bobu Omoni began to worry. We must consult Elder Wanda, he finally declared. He has seen many things. And so, under the glow of the full moon, the village priest was summoned to unravel the mystery of Naya's fate. But when he gazed into the sacred fire and called upon the spirits, what he saw made him gasp in horror. Naya was not just blessed or cursed. She was something else entirely. And the true test of her destiny was only just beginning. The curse of the enchanted blood. The village of Zandari was known far and wide for its fertile lands, its wise elders, and the many legends that had shaped its history. But none of its stories compared to the mystery surrounding Naya, the young woman who had captured the hearts of many yet remained untouched by love. She was no longer just a beauty, she had become a legend. Men from distant lands traveled for days just for a glimpse of her. Chieftains sent their sons, warriors laid down their weapons, and wealthy traders promised endless treasures in hopes of winning her heart. Yet, one by one, they disappeared. Some fled the village in fear, whispering about strange visions and unnatural feelings. Others fell mysteriously ill, their bodies weakening as though drained of life itself. It soon became a curse among men to even attempt to woo Naya. Whispers of fear and superstition. The village, once captivated by Naya's beauty, now began to fear her. She is cursed, some said. No man can touch her without being struck by misfortune. She is not one of us, others murmured. She was left beneath the sacred tree for a reason. Even Chief Bobu Omoni, who had once declared Naya a gift from the gods, began to reconsider his words. He summoned the village elders for counsel. It is true, said Elder Wanda, the village priest. Something unnatural surrounds this girl. The spirits whisper of an unseen force. Mama Kessa, heartbroken by the rumors, defended her daughter fiercely. Naya is no curse. She has done nothing but love this village, she said. If there is something wrong, we must seek the wisdom of those who can truly see beyond what we know. And so, with no other choice, Mama Kessa decided to take Naya to Elder Mudoki, a seer who lived deep in the mountains of Kijoni. The journey to the mountains. Before the first light of dawn, Naya and Mama Kessa set out on their journey, guided by the rising sun. The path was long and treacherous, winding through dense forests and rocky cliffs where the cries of unseen creatures echoed in the distance. Naya remained silent for most of the journey. She felt the weight of the whispers, the burden of her existence, and the pain of the love she could never have. Mama, she finally spoke as they climbed the steep hills, am I truly cursed? Mama Kessa sighed, pulling her closer. My child, sometimes the world does not understand those who are different. But we will find the truth. No matter what it is, you will never be alone. After 2 days of traveling, they finally arrived at the seer's dwelling, a cave hidden behind a waterfall, where Elder Mudoki lived in solitude. The old man was ancient, his back bent with age, his long grey beard braided with small bones and charms. His eyes, though clouded with time, seemed to see through the soul. As soon as he laid eyes on Naya, He let out a deep, troubled sigh. "You have come at last," he said, as though he had been expecting her. The revelation of the curse. Inside the cave, a fire crackled, casting shadows against the stone walls. Elder Mudoki motioned for Naya to sit before him. He took a bowl filled with a dark liquid and began to chant in an ancient tongue, throwing handfuls of dust into the flames. The fire roared and turned blue, casting an eerie glow around them. Then, the old seer spoke. "Naya, child of the sacred tree, you are not an ordinary woman. Your blood carries the mark of an ancient curse." Naya's heart pounded. "A curse?" "Yes," Elder Mudoki said. "Long ago, before our time, a woman much like you lived in these lands. She was a priestess, gifted with beauty beyond compare, but she defied the gods in her search for love. She wanted a love greater than the stars, a love that could fill the emptiness in her soul. For her defiance, she was cursed. The gods took away her ability to find fulfillment in love, condemning her to a life of eternal longing. Any man who came too close to her would suffer misfortune, illness, or death." Naya's hands trembled. "And you mean to say, that woman was my ancestor?" Mudoki nodded. "The curse follows your bloodline. It was dormant until the day you were left beneath the sacred tree. That was no accident, child. You were placed there because the spirits knew, one day, you would seek the truth." Naya felt her world shatter. "So I am doomed," she whispered. Elder Mudoki shook his head. "No, child. The gods are cruel, but they are not unkind. There is always a way to break a curse." Mama Kesa, who had remained silent in shock, finally found her voice. "How?" she asked. "What must she do?" Elder Mudoki's gaze darkened. To break the curse, Naya must find the source of her longing. She must seek out what it is her soul truly craves. Only then will she be free. Naya clenched her fist. "But I do not know what I crave," she said. "All I know is this emptiness." The seer smiled faintly. "Then your journey has only just begun. The weight of destiny." That night, as Naya and Mama Kesa rested in the cave, the young woman lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She now understood the truth of what had haunted her since childhood. The whispers in her sleep. The endless yearning. The men who suffered simply by wanting her. It was all because of the curse. But knowing the truth did not make it easier. She could not undo her bloodline. She could not change what she was. Unless she found the one thing that could fill the void in her soul, she would forever be incomplete. The thought terrified her. As dawn broke, she turned to Mama Kesa. "I must leave," she said. Mama Kesa's eyes widened. "Leave? But where?" "I do not know yet," Naya admitted. "But if I stay in Zandori, I will only bring suffering to those around me." Tears welled in Mama Kesa's eyes, but she understood. "Then go, my child," she said. "But promise you will return when you have found what you seek." Naya took a deep breath. "I promise." And so, with the rising sun at her back, Naya set out on a journey into the unknown, hoping to discover the one thing that could free her from the curse of the enchanted blood. What she did not know was that she was not the only one searching. Something ancient was watching her. And it was waiting the betrayal of sisterhood. A new friendship. Naya's journey away from Zandori led her through unknown lands, across raging rivers and past forests thick with mystery. But the road was long and lonely. Though she was determined to break the curse, she still did not know where to begin. After weeks of wandering, she arrived at the village of Kejom, a bustling settlement known for its skilled warriors and traders. Here, she hoped to find answers, or at least a place to rest. It was in Kejom that she met Sod. Sod was unlike anyone Naya had ever known, bold, fearless, and full of fire. She moved through life with ease, never afraid to speak her mind, never concerned with how others saw her. She was everything Naya wished to be, free. From the moment they met, Sod took an interest in Naya. "You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders," she observed one evening as they sat by a river. "But tell me, Naya, what is it that troubles you?" Naya hesitated but found herself trusting Sod in a way she had never trusted anyone before. She did not speak of the cause directly but admitted that she felt incomplete, that she had traveled far seeking something she could not name. Sod listened, nodding slowly. "Perhaps what you seek is not a place," she said, "but a person." Naya considered her words. "What do you mean?" Sod smiled. "Maybe what you are looking for is love." Naya wanted to laugh at the irony. Love, the very thing denied to her by the curse. But a part of her longed to believe it was that simple. The plan to win Jabari's heart. Sod had a plan. "There is a warrior here," she told Naya one afternoon. "His name is Jabari. He is the strongest, the wisest, and the most respected man in Kejom. If any man is worthy of your love, it is him." Naya hesitated. "I don't know, Sod," she said. "What if he, too, turns away from me?" Sod grabbed her hand. "Then we will know the truth." Naya felt a chill at her words but ignored it. If there was even the smallest chance that she could love and be loved, she had to try. For the first time, she let herself hope. Jabari's rejection. The next evening, Naya and Sod attended a village festival, where the warriors of Kejom displayed their skills in combat. Jabari, standing tall among them, was a sight to behold. His powerful frame moved with ease, his sharp eyes focused and full of wisdom. When the competition ended, Sod nudged Naya forward. "Go," she whispered. "Speak to him." Naya approached, heart pounding. "Jabari," she said softly, "may I walk with you?" Jabari turned, studying her with an unreadable expression. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, at last, he spoke. "I do not think that would be wise." Naya felt her stomach drop. "Why?" Jabari's jaw tightened. "Because something about you does not feel right." His words stung worse than any wound. She had done nothing. She had said nothing. Yet he, too, had felt what all the others had felt, that strange, unexplainable discomfort in her presence. Naya felt the last pieces of hope crumble inside her. Without another word, she turned and disappeared into the night. Sod's betrayal. Naya did not return to the festival. She wandered into the darkness, alone, ashamed, and defeated. She had allowed herself to believe she could have what others had. But once again, she was reminded of the truth: she was cursed. But as she sat beneath a tree, trembling with sorrow, Sod was already weaving a different story. The next morning, the village of Kejom was buzzing with whispers. They say Jabari rejected Naya because he sensed something unnatural in her. "I heard she used dark magic to try and enchant him." "She is cursed," someone murmured. "She does not belong here." Sod had spread the rumors like wildfire, carefully twisting the truth. Soon, people no longer saw Naya as a wandering beauty in search of love. They saw her as something dangerous. And just like that, her fate was sealed. Naya's isolation. When Naya returned to the village, she immediately sensed that something had changed. People no longer greeted her warmly. Women whispered behind her back. Men averted their gazes. Even Sod, the friend she had trusted, now looked at her with a cruel smile. Naya's hands trembled. "Sod," she whispered, "what have you done?" Sod shrugged, folding her arms. "I only told the truth." Naya took a step back, her heart pounding. "Why?" she asked. "I thought you were my friend." Sod's eyes darkened. Because I was tired of living in your shadow, she admitted. Your beauty, your mystery, it has always made you special. But now, the people see you for what you really are. Naya felt as though the ground had been ripped from beneath her feet. She had trusted Sod. She had believed she had finally found a friend. But in the end, even friendship was denied to her. With nowhere left to turn, Naya fled into the forest, disappearing from the eyes of the village. And there, in the shadows, something else was waiting. Something that had been watching her for a very, very long time. The forbidden path of the night spirits. Exile into the lost forest. Naya ran. She ran until her feet ached, until her breath came in ragged gasps, until the whispers of the villagers faded into the distant night. She had nowhere to go, no home, no friends, no love. The pain of Soda's betrayal cut deeper than she imagined, but even worse was the truth that hung over her like a storm. She was cursed. She was doomed to be alone. And no one could save her. With nowhere else to turn, Naya wandered into the lost forest, a place feared by all in Kejom. Legend spoke of spirits that roamed beneath its twisted trees, of voices that lured travelers into the darkness, never to return. But Naya did not fear the spirits. For the first time in her life, she felt like one of them. The witch of the lost forest. Naya walked for what felt like days, pushing deeper into the forest's tangled heart. The air was thick, humid, and strangely still, as though the land itself was holding its breath. Then, at last, she found it, a crumbling stone hut hidden within a ring of gnarled trees, their back twisted like screaming faces. A voice drifted from within. You are late, child. Naya stepped cautiously inside. The air smelled of earth and fire, of dried herbs and something far older. Seated before a cauldron was a woman unlike any Naya had ever seen. Her skin was dark as midnight, her hair woven with bones and beads. One of her eyes was missing, replaced by an empty socket that pulsed faintly with an eerie blue light. This was Neofa, the witch of the lost forest. I have been expecting you, Neofa said, her voice low and knowing. The cursed girl who does not belong. Naya swallowed hard. You know who I am. The witch chuckled, tossing a handful of crushed leaves into the bubbling cauldron. I know what you are, she corrected. And I know why you have come. Naya's heart pounded. Then tell me. How do I break the curse? Neofa studied her for a long moment before speaking. You are bound to an ancient spirit, a being that once walked this land, longing for love that would never be returned. That longing was so great, so unbearable, that it became a curse upon her bloodline. Naya's blood turned cold. She is the one who haunts you, the witch continued. She whispers to you in your sleep. She is the hunger inside you, the emptiness that no man can satisfy. Naya felt as though she couldn't breathe. This spirit, this entity, was the source of everything. So how do I stop her? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Neofa's one eye gleamed. You must journey to the Valley of the Silent Echoes and confront the spirit yourself. The name sent a chill through Naya's bones. The Valley of the Silent Echoes was said to be a place between life and death, where the voices of the lost whisper their regrets, where the cursed went to face their doom. No one who enters that valley ever returns, Naya murmured. The witch grinned. Then you must be the first. She reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a small bundle of dried herbs and black stones, wrapped in twine. This charm will shield you from her influence, Neofa said. But it will not save you if you are weak. Naya took the charm with trembling fingers. What if I fail? She asked. Neofa's expression darkened. Then the spirit will take your body for her own. And you will cease to exist. The journey to the valley. With the witch's charm around her neck, Naya set out for the Valley of the Silent Echoes. The journey was long and treacherous. The landscape grew colder, the air heavier, as though the very world was warning her to turn back. But she pressed forward. She had to know the truth. She had to break the curse. What she didn't know was that she was not alone. Sod had followed her. Sod's pursuit. Sod had never felt fear before. Not when she faced wild beasts. Not when she stood up to the strongest men in Kejom. Not even when she betrayed Naya. But now, as she crept through the shadows, following Naya's path, she felt fear clawing at her chest. She had spread the rumors about Naya to destroy her, to make her leave Kejom forever. But now, seeing her walk towards a place of death and spirits, she realized something. Naya was more than just a girl. She was something ancient. Something powerful. And if she returned with the truth, Sod's betrayal would be exposed. Sod could not let that happen. Naya had to disappear, forever. The Valley of the Silent Echoes. At last, Naya reached the valley's entrance. The ground sloped downward into a vast hollow of darkness, where strange whispers filled the air like rustling leaves. It felt as though the world had ended here. She clutched Neophos' charm tightly and stepped inside. The whispers grew louder, more desperate. Then, from the darkness, she emerged. A woman, her figure blurred and shifting, as though she was made of smoke and sorrow. Her eyes were golden, like Naya's. "You have finally come," the spirit whispered. Naya staggered back, her heart pounding. The air grew heavy, suffocating, as though unseen hands were reaching into her chest. She felt something stir deep inside her, a force that was not her own. It was the spirit. It wanted to take her. Sod's final betrayal. Just as Naya prepared to confront the spirit, a sharp pain exploded in her side. She gasped and fell to her knees, clutching her stomach. Behind her stood Sod, holding a dagger slick with blood. "I can't let you return," Sod said, her voice trembling. Naya's vision blurred. "Why?" Sod's face twisted. "Because if you do, everyone will know what I've done." The spirit laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the valley. "You fool," she hissed at Sod. "You think killing her will save you?" Sod's eyes widened in horror as shadows rose around her, curling like tendrils, reaching towards her. Naya, clutching her wound, forced herself to stand. With the last of her strength, she threw the witch's charm into the spirit's chest. The valley shook with an unearthly scream. The spirit convulsed, her form unraveling, dissolving into the air like mist beneath the morning sun. Then, silence. The Valley of the Silent Echoes was silent no more. A new fate awaits. Naya collapsed, gasping for air. She could feel it, the curse was lifting. The hunger, the longing, the emptiness that had haunted her, was gone. She had won. But as she turned to look at Sod, she saw only an empty husk. The valley had claimed her. Naya's heart ached, but she did not cry. Instead, she turned away, stepping into the light. She had survived. She was free. And now, a new path awaited her. A path back home. The trial of the moonlit river. The guardian of the valley. Naya's steps were slow and unsteady as she made her way through the Valley of the Silent Echoes. The air was thick with the weight of the past, filled with whispers that faded as she moved forward. Her wound from Sod's betrayal still burned, but something had changed. The curse that had haunted her for so long, the hunger, the longing, had finally loosened its grip. Yet, she knew her journey was not over. She followed a faint glow ahead, a silver shimmer reflecting through the trees, guiding her to the moonlit river. Then, she saw him. A tall, spectral figure stood at the river's edge. His skin was the color of storm clouds, his eyes gleamed like liquid silver, and his robe seemed to ripple like water under the moonlight. This was Zubri, the guardian of the valley, the keeper of forgotten fates. You have come at last, he said, his voice carrying the weight of eternity. Naya hesitated. You were expecting me. Zuburi nodded. For generations, I have waited for the one who would break the cycle. The last descendant of the priestess who defied the gods. Naya's breath caught. So it was true. The curse that had tormented her was older than she could have imagined, a punishment not for her sins, but for those of her ancestor. The gods do not forget, Zubri continued. And they do not forgive easily. Naya clenched her fist. I never asked for this, she said. I never wanted to be part of this story. Zubri studied her carefully. No, he agreed. But fate is not about what we want. It is about what we must do. He gestured to the moonlit river, its surface so still it looked like a mirror of the night sky. To break the curse, he said, you must offer your deepest desire as a sacrifice. The river will judge your heart. Only then will the gods decide whether to grant you freedom. Naya's chest tightened. Her deepest desire. What was it? For so long, she had searched for fulfillment, for something to complete her. But now, standing at the river's edge, she realized she had never truly known what it was. Until now. She wanted to be free. Free from the past. Free from the curse. Free from being a prisoner to love she could never have. This was her deepest desire. And to be free, she would have to give it up. The price of freedom. Naya stepped closer to the river, her reflection looking back at her. But as she raised her hands to complete the ritual, a sudden voice cut through the night. No. Naya spun around. Sod was still alive. Despite her wounds, despite the valley's wrath, she had dragged herself here, refusing to be left behind. You don't get to decide your fate, Sod growled, her eyes wild. You don't get to just erase what you are. Naya took a step back, confused. This isn't about you, Sod, she said. But Sod laughed bitterly. It's always about you, Naya, she spat. The men who adored you. The life you had. Even when you suffered, you were still more than I could ever be. Naya's heart ached. Sod had hated her, not just for her beauty, not just for the curse, but because Sod had never felt like she was enough. I never wanted to be special, Naya said softly. I just wanted to be free. Sod's hands clenched into fists. And I won't let you have that. Before Naya could react, Sod lunged toward her, her dagger raised once more. Crack! A bolt of silver lightning split the sky. The ground beneath Sod shook violently, as though the valley itself had finally had enough. She let out a strangled cry as the earth cracked open beneath her feet, and then, she was gone. Swallowed by the valley. A life consumed by jealousy. A fate sealed by betrayal. Naya stood frozen, her chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. Zubri's voice was calm. The valley does not tolerate those who seek to destroy the path of another. Naya shivered, watching as the ground slowly sealed itself again. Sod was truly gone. And now, it was her turn. The judgment of the river. Naya turned back to the river, its waters glowing with an ethereal light. Zubri motioned for her to begin. Naya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought of everything she had lost. Her home. Her innocence. Her friendship with Sod. The love she had never known. She thought of the curse that had dictated her entire life, the hunger for something that could never be satisfied. And then, she let it go. She reached into herself, into that part that had always been empty, and she offered it to the river. The wind howled. The stars above shuddered. The water rippled, then rose, twisting into shimmering shapes, faces from the past, the spirits of her ancestors. For a long moment, they simply watched her. Then, the voices whispered. It is done. Naya opened her eyes. The weight in her chest was gone. For the first time in her life, she felt whole. Zubri stepped forward, his silver eyes filled with something like pride. The gods have accepted your sacrifice, he said. Your curse has been lifted. Naya's breath caught in her throat. She was free. At last, she was free. A new path begins. As dawn broke over the valley, Naya stepped beyond its borders, her heart lighter than it had ever been. She had lost much, but she had gained something greater. Herself. She did not know where she would go. She did not know what the future held. But for the first time, she had the power to choose. And that was more than enough. The final offering. The moonlit river shimmered with the first light of dawn, its waters reflecting the sky as though holding the universe itself within its depths. Naya stood at its edge, feeling lighter than she ever had before. The burden of the curse, the longing, the emptiness, was gone. She had given up her deepest desire, and in doing so, she had found herself. But as she looked at her reflection, she realized something: she was no longer the same. The pain that had once shaped her was gone, yet in its place was something new, something powerful. A voice whispered from the wind. You have freed yourself, but the gods demand more. Naya lifted her gaze to the horizon. The spirits had granted her freedom, but there was still one final price to pay. She had been bound by love she could never have, cursed by longing that was never fulfilled. Now, she would belong to no one, not even herself. Her transformation had begun. Becoming the guardian spirit. As she stepped into the river, her body began to glow with an ethereal light. Her skin shimmered like the moon's glow, her golden eyes turning into orbs of soft silver. Her mortal form was fading. She was becoming something else. She had been born of longing, but she would live as something greater. A guardian of the lost. A protector of those who wandered, just as she had. Naya had once believed her story was one of pain. Now, she understood, it was a story of transformation. The gods had not cursed her. They had prepared her for something greater. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she was no longer Naya. She was the spirit of the valley, the one who would guide lost souls home. And as she disappeared into the mist, a soft wind carried her voice across the land. Find what you seek, and you will find yourself. The village remembers. Word of Naya's sacrifice reached Chandri, carried by travelers who spoke of the silver-eyed woman who had walked into the valley and never returned. Mama Kesa, upon hearing the tale, wept, not in sorrow, but in pride. She has become what she was always meant to be, she whispered. The village elders, led by Chief Bobu Omoni, decreed that a shrine be built in Naya's honor, beneath the sacred tree where she had once been found. The people came from far and wide, bringing offerings of flowers, gold, and carved figures, telling stories of Naya's journey. Her legend spread beyond Zandori, across lands and generations. Mothers told their daughters, warriors whispered her name before battle, and lost travelers prayed to the spirit of the valley for guidance. She had not been erased. She had become eternal. Soda's redemption. Far from the valley, a woman knelt in the ruins of her past. Sod had survived the wrath of the valley, but she had been changed. Her hair was streaked with silver, her once fierce eyes softened by the weight of her sins. For days, she had wandered, lost and alone, expecting death to claim her, but it never did. Instead, she found herself in a distant village, where she collapsed at the feet of an elderly healer. The woman took her in, tending to her wounds with gentle hands, never asking who she was or what she had done. Sod, for the first time in her life, knew what it was to be shown mercy. And with that mercy, she made a choice. She would not let jealousy define her any longer. She would heal, not harm. She would atone, not destroy. For years, so trained under the healer's guidance, learning the art of medicine and the ways of the spirits. She became a woman of wisdom, one who traveled from village to village, tending to the sick, guiding the lost, and sharing the story of the girl she had once called her enemy. She no longer feared Naya's name. Instead, she honored it. And in doing so, she found her own path to redemption. A legend that lives on. Generations passed. The world changed. Kingdoms rose and fell. New stories were written. But Naya's legend remained. She became known as the spirit of the silver moon, the guardian of the lost, the one who whispered to those who sought something greater. Travelers who passed through the valley of the silent echoes often spoke of a warm breeze that carried a soft voice, guiding them to safety. And those who stood beneath the sacred tree in Zandori sometimes swore they saw a figure in the moonlight, watching over them with eyes like silver. Naya had not been forgotten. She had become a legend. A tale passed from mother to daughter, from elder to child, a reminder of the power of self-acceptance and the dangers of envy. And so, our story never ended. It only transformed, just like she had. The end.